Everyone's talking about the creator economy, the one-person business, the solopreneur revolution. But they're all missing something fundamental. What if the business itself is just another artificial construct? What if the entire concept of doing the work is just another layer we need to strip away? I'm talking about this zero-person business. Not just automated, not just outsourced, but a business that runs itself completely, where even you, the final human in the equation, are no longer needed for implementation. Let that sink in for just a second. A business where you're not needed for implementation, where you don't have to do the work, where the system handles everything without even your input. And no, I'm not talking about building a business and selling it. I'm talking about creating a business that operates, improves, and expands itself with zero human implementation required. No, it's not some sci-fi fantasy. This is just happening right now. I know it because I'm trying to build it myself. You got to think about your own business or job right now, okay? How much of your day is spent on implementation, on the doing, on the execution? What would happen if all of that just disappeared? My journey to this concept didn't really start with business at all. It started with just a question about the future of learning in an AI world. Initially, I thought humans would need to focus on creating knowledge since AI would get better at implementing everything else. But as I kept exploring, I realized something more profound. AI will eventually do everything better than humans can. And if you look at the growth rate of its learning, it's just undeniable. And that led me to the ultimate question of like, what does that leave for humans to do? The answer wasn't really depressing, to be honest. It was actually quite liberating. We just end up going back to being human, connecting, being curious, very explorative human beings. Not workers, not implementers, just humans being naturally human. Look, I get it. This sounds like maybe some utopian BS to most people. Humans just being human, doing nothing, being curious. Everyone's worried about AI taking jobs, and here I am saying like it's a good thing. But look, just stick with me here, okay? Because it's not about unemployment. It's about liberation from this concept of employment itself, attaching your worth to your work. It's just ridiculous to think about. And let me be super clear about this, because when AI can do everything better than us, we don't become obsolete, all right? We become liberated from that. Okay, we get back to returning to our natural state of curiosity and exploration. We get back to being a human again in the purest sense. And it's just really annoying to understand, like, it's not annoying, it's just like very sad to see a world where people are getting their entire worth out of their work and their job that's been assigned to them, rather than just seeing it deep down inside of who they are. Now, this whole stuff about the zero-person business, like, I saw it firsthand when building my app. I saw it when I started with this typical builder mindset. I gotta control everything. I gotta be in the loop for every decision. But as I built systems, real systems, not just automated tasks, something started to shift for me, and I went from typing paragraphs of instructions like over and over and over in these conversations to literally just typing continue, continue, continue. I went from this constant intervention to this occasional guidance, like, okay, it's messing up, let me just do this, okay, cool, it's good, we're back on track. I went from this implementation stuff to like just focusing on the pure vision. Now just think about that for a moment, okay? From paragraphs of instructions to a single word. From constant checking to occasional guidance. From the doing to the seeing. Let me give you another example. Last month, I needed to build this complex feature for this app, okay? Normally, this would have taken me a lot of coding, a lot of testing, a lot of debugging. But instead, I designed this whole system where AI agents work together. One agent architected the plan, the solution, right? Another would write the code. A third would test the code. And then a fourth would deploy it. That is it, right? I would have all the stuff that I'd have to do, right? But I created a system that did those things reliably. My role is just to type continue whenever needed and answer any clarification questions, or just slightly keep it on track just a tiny bit as I'm building out the system to make it perfect, okay? And that's it. This feature was better than anything I could have built myself. But the most shocking part is the result gets better the more that I get out of the way. The more I work on the system to do its own job and work itself out, it gets better. And so I really need to emphasize this point because it drives me crazy when people talk about AI assistants, like as if it's just a tool to help people work just slightly faster. Like that's completely missing the point. It's like discovering flight for the first time and it's like, okay, I can go a little bit higher. Cool, great, that's it. No, bro. Like we're talking about not just an incremental efficiency here. We're talking about a fundamentally different way of creating, a different way of being. I used to scream at this AI when it didn't do what I wanted, but like I would spend entire days trying to like look through the code, debug it, figure out the problems, right? But once I built the right, systems around this, where the AI teams had these clear roles, this memory system, these feedback loops, right? Everything begins to change for me, right? I don't have to debug because I set everything up properly the first time and it debugs itself. Now I just press a button. Entire workflow happens automatically. YouTube scripts written, code gets deployed, marketing campaigns done, all aligned with my vision, but without my implementation, right? All the system takes care of it all for me. It's not about building a better business model, really. It's about evolving beyond what we thought was possible with creativity itself, with curiosity. God, like, I just hate how most people are approaching this. It's like, how can I use AI to speed up my emails? It's like, meanwhile, this entire concept of manually writing emails is about to be absolutely obsolete. Like, that's asking how to breed faster horses when you have the first cars rolling off the assembly line right now. How could this apply to what you're doing right now, okay? What processes in your business or life involve repeated implementation that could be handled by a system instead? It's like, I want to walk you through just a typical day of what it might look like with a zero-person business system in place. You wake up whenever your body naturally wants to. No alarm clock. The first thing you do is you check what happened while you were sleeping. Yeah, your content system has produced 3 new articles based on topics you showed interest in yesterday. Each article reviewed by another AI for quality, optimized for SEO, and scheduled for publication, and without you doing anything. Your development system has fixed 6 bugs that users reported yesterday, pushed updates to the app, and started work on a new feature based on user feedback patterns it identified. You didn't have to look at them, it just did it for you. Your marketing system has analyzed yesterday's performance. It's all the data, adjusted it, done all the stuff that it needs to across the channels, got new ad variations, drafted responses, commented on social media. It's amazing, right? And all this is happening with you just typing the initial instruction, just getting the system going, right? And then it runs itself and just keeps going forever. Your morning isn't spent implementing, it's spent reviewing, system's done. Oh, honestly, you don't even need to review it if you don't want to. But if you want to, you can give it this high level guidance where needed. You might spend, a little bit of thinking, I go on a walk, thinking about stuff at a very high level, right? And making some strategic decisions. But when the system's so beautiful, it can do all that for you. You're just doing that for the doing's sake, to be honest. And that's the beauty of all of this. We get to go back to just doing something for the love of doing it, not for the because of the reason. The rest of your day, it's just completely free. Free for what? For pure creativity, for exploration, for deep thinking, for connecting with other humans, for pursuing whatever naturally draws your curiosity. Yesterday, you spent, 4 hours researching a topic that fascinated you simply because it caught your attention. Not because of it was profitable or useful, but because it was just interesting, right? And that's what I find so beautiful about humans, is that we can just be naturally curious about something because we're curious about it, It's like the day before you spent with an afternoon with a friend, having a conversation that just sparks new ideas and perspectives, and you live more into the conversation, right? Hours and hours of talking and having fun. You have your AI listening. Next thing you know, end of the conversation, it's built the whole app that you guys had talked about in the first hour of discussion. This is like what's becoming possible when you're not trapped by this implementation stuff, and your time and your mental energy are liberated for what matters most. So now just think about your current day. how much of it is spent on implementation versus this creative exploration? And what would change if all the implementation just disappeared? This is the problem with this freedom stuff, right? It's like, why do people build businesses in the first place? Well, it's not about the money, not really. It's about the freedom. But most freedom businesses are just elaborate traps. You know, you've replaced a boss with a customer. You've replaced a commute with a laptop that follows you everywhere. You've replaced a 9-to-5 with an always-on mentality. And that's not freedom. That's just a different kind of prison. You've moved from one cell to another, although maybe slightly larger, maybe smaller for some of you. For me, sometimes it's just the recliner chair. But you know what? You're still locked in. You're still in this cell. So think about it like this, right? Imagine escaping from a cell only to find yourself in this larger cell. You have more room to move, but you're still contained, and that's what most business owners have done. They've escaped the traditional employment only to trap themselves in implementation, right? I've been there, and I've worked very hard to build my business and do what I'm trying to do. And I work harder in it than any job I've ever had. You know, 12, 14, 16 hours in a row. Sometimes I don't even sleep. But I'm always available, always implementing, right? Always on. That's not really freedom. That's not what we're after here. We're real freedom, which comes when implementation entirely disappears. When I can just wake up, go on a walk, and things get done, right? So we got to go deeper. We need to strip away more layers. Because most business models, they skip this fundamental question. It's like, what is implementation really? Like, why are we so attached to doing the work ourselves? I want you to pause for just a moment and think about your own attachment to implementation. Where in your business or life are you convinced that you need to be doing the work? I see this attachment to implementation everywhere. People say, I need to control quality, or no one can do it like I can, or AI isn't capable of true creative work. I mean, those are just the stories we tell ourselves to justify staying trapped in this implementation. They're like the prisoner who's grown so accustomed to their cell that they've convinced themselves they would prefer that over the freedom, the real freedom that I'm talking about here. And these stories, they're the ones that keep us trapped. Those beliefs, they keep us imprisoned. These assumptions, they keep us doing the work instead of pursuing what actually matters. It absolutely baffles me how many entrepreneurs are talking about this hustling and bustling and grinding like it's some badge of honor. Yeah, you're proud of working 16 hours a day. Good for you, man. But that's not success. That's a failure to build a system, right? We've created this toxic culture that's glorifying this implementation instead of this vision, right? Instead of being a real human, right? Even the one-person business model that's so popular right now, right? It's still, and people are like thinking, I can fire all these employees and I can just do it myself. No, you're still assuming that you're the implementer. You're still the one who might write the tweets, who might create the content, who sells the products. Like, but what if this implementation itself was just another layer that we could strip away? It's like, so let's go ahead and just compare the one-person business to what I'm proposing here with the zero-person business, right? Well, why not? Well, the one-person business says simplify, use digital tools, create once, sell more, right? Sell many times, leverage your social media, build systems so you can work less. Yeah, that's great. That's good. That's a good start, but it still centers around the human implementer, right? You're still the bottleneck. You're still the one doing the work, even if you've made the work more efficient, right? It's like they talk about working 4 hours a day instead of 8. Like, yeah, that's a 50% reduction in implementation time. But what I'm talking about is 0 hours and on this implementation while maintaining 100% alignment with your vision, right? The big picture of just being a natural, curious human being here, right? Not confined to this one thing anymore. I'm not talking about working less. I'm talking about eliminating work entirely, not reducing implementation. We're removing it entirely. They're talking about using no-code tools to handle specialized tasks with this one-person business. I'm talking about AI agent systems that handle everything, not just specialized tasks, but the entire implementation stack. These aren't isolated tools. They're integrated systems that work together, that communicate, that improve themselves, right? So let's break this down further. No-code tools still require you to build a system. They still require your time and attention to set up and maintain, right? They're still fundamentally limited by your involvement. The systems I'm talking about building, right? The systems I'm talking about, they build themselves, they maintain themselves, they improve themselves. Your only role is to provide that initial vision and that direction, but not the implementation, not the maintenance. They're focusing with this one-person business on design, these digital products, creating leverage. Well, I'm focusing on designing this awareness of these systems that become self-sustaining, self-improving, right? And it really, it makes me angry, like seeing how people are using this AI right now. Like they have this godlike technology to generate slightly better Instagram captions when they could be building systems. Right? They're like, okay, how can I do better? How can I automate my email? Right? That's really cool. Great. No, like you could be transforming your entire relationship with work itself. It's like you're just making your work a little bit better, but like, come on, man, like let's think bigger here. You know? It's like getting a superpower and using it to warm up your coffee. Like the lack of imagination here is staggering because there's so much more to unlock with the current technology we have available to us. It's like the difference between a car that needs a driver and a car that drives itself. Both get you places, but one requires your constant attention, right? Constant attention and control, while the other's like, lets you just focus on the destination, right? You can watch Netflix in your little Tesla over here and chill. You can fall asleep, enjoy the ride, right? Or think of it like this. The one person's business is like having a team of robots that need this constant programming, constant oversight. The zero-person business is like having a team of autonomous agents that program themselves, right, and oversee each other. I literally think of it like a robot here, another robot coming, fixing up its wiring, and now that robot's been improved, right? You made that robot the key maker, right? He's the key maker. That's what you need. Right now, you're acting like you're the key maker. You've got to give that role over to the system. What would you rather have? A system that requires your constant attention or a system that runs itself? Well, you just get to focus on what matters most to you in life, whatever it may be. Whether it's motorbiking, whether it's playing tennis, whether it's traveling, whether it's just hanging out on the phone or whatever it is, just going on a walk. So when you build a zero-person business, you're not just creating another income stream. You're creating an entirely new relationship with work itself because work's no longer work. It's not about the next evolution of business. It's not the next evolution of human creativity. It's a fundamental shift in how we relate to our work, to creation, to implementation. Instead of being the doer, you become the seer. Instead of implementing, you're simply observing, right? It's just this natural emergence of naturally human being in you. All right, so let me repeat this because it's so crucial. Instead of being the doer, you become the seer. Instead of implementing, you simply observe. Instead of forcing outcomes, you naturally allow them to emerge. This is a profound shift because it's not just about working less or being more efficient. It's about transforming your entire relationship with this creation process itself. And the zero-person business is all about removing this artificial construct of having to do the work and replaces it with this pure creative vision, pure curiosity, pure exploration. This is like the difference between pushing a boulder uphill and watching it then roll down by itself. Initially, yes, you're providing all the energy, yes. But you're sweating and you're straining. But once you reach the top of the hill, right? Once you reach the peak, once your system is truly self-improving, all you need to do is just gently guide it, right? Give it some direction while momentum does the whole rest of it, right? And eventually, that momentum going down the right way takes care of itself. So think of it like an image for a second, right? Think about that image, okay? That boulder rolling down the hill by itself. Okay? with you just occasionally guiding it, giving it direction. That is the zero-person business, okay? And here's the crazy part. When you remove yourself from implementation, the business often ends up performing better than when you were trying to be involved. Why? Because you were the bottleneck. You were the bottleneck. You limited your limited time, your limited energy, and perspective were constraining what was possible, right? So you were the limitation. Your involvement was actually holding this business back, the opportunities, the possibilities back, and your implementation is restricting what could be achieved, right? Whether it's a human system that's supposed to be automated or an AI system, it's the same, okay? And you may be thinking like, bro, I can't trust AI. Well, okay, if I took a great worker and I put him in a horrible workspace, he's gonna perform okay, but as time goes on, he's probably not gonna perform as well. If I take a bad worker, right? Let's pretend I have a guy who works in a pizza shop. He's not very good. I just move him to a different pizza shop with a better system. He can perform amazing because I plug him into a system that's amazing, okay? So don't go here and tell me like it's the AI's fault, because it's not, all right? It's the system's fault. Are you building a good enough system? So all this stuff about me being the implementer, me having a good system, like I've seen it in my own projects. When I was trying to be involved in every decision, progress was slow and outcomes were really limited in my capabilities, you know? But when I built a system that could operate without me, well, you know, you discover these solutions like I would have never thought of. And that made these connections I couldn't see. Like this system was creating the outcomes that exceeded my expectations. It's actually beautiful, a thing to watch when you make this system and it starts doing everything perfectly and you're like, whoa, this is crazy, right? And sure, like maybe it's not totally perfect in the beginning, but like I said, you know, this system's evolving, it's improving itself. Right? And that's the beauty of it. It's like a human baby. First, it can't be an adult from day one. It's got to be a baby first, then an infant, then it's got to be an adolescent, then it becomes a teenager, an adult, and then, you know, so on and so forth. Another example, my content system. Like recently, like it was like trying to create an article that was connecting two concepts. I would never have thought to connect, right? It was brilliant. More insightful than anything I would have written myself or saw. Why? Because the system is not limited by my preconceptions or my biases. It can start seeing patterns I can't see. And this is not by accident. It's what happens when you start removing the limitations of your human implementation. So I gotta ask you, like, what limitations are you imposing on your business or whatever you're doing with your own implementation, with your own control? And what would happen if you remove that control? If you let go, if you just stop forcing, stop doing, and just start letting things happen. So when I talked about this concept, right, I get typically, you know, these responses. The first is blank stares. People don't really engage with this idea because they might acknowledge it intellectually, but they don't grasp its implications, okay? Deep down, they might recognize it's really true, but they're still living in this world, right, that we have right now. This implementation, I gotta do the work, I gotta do these things. They need to make money right now. So they keep working within the current paradigm. I get it. No, I really do. It's hard to imagine a world without implementation or like where you're doing the work or where AI's literally running the entire world. It's very hard because we've never lived in a world like that, or most of us haven't, right? It's like trying to explain, you know, color to someone who's only seen black and white. Like they understand the concept, but they can't really feel it. They can't experience it. The second response I typically get is excitement from this, who see these patterns, right? They understand that we're inventing something completely new here. We're adapting to these organizational principles that have existed for centuries, right? And instead of humans delegating to other humans, we're creating AI systems that handle this implementation. And these people get it. They see this potential for this liberation from this pure delegation. These are the people who can look beyond this current paradigm that we have. They can see these patterns, these connections, the possibilities. They understand that it's not just about better tools or more efficiency. It's about fundamental transformation. And this third response, which I don't really encounter like face-to-face, it's more like an online sort of thing, is the skepticism, right? AI is not capable yet. You go read a lot of comment sections, you'll see it. You can't trust it yet. You need human creativity. You gotta have the human in the loop. Well, these objections are coming from a place of misunderstanding, right? Maybe it's your own personal deep inside you, right? Your lack of trust, right? Your need for control. And it's this deep-seated thing within us that we can't even see. We don't even recognize that, right? Like, it's not that you just don't do it with AI. You do it with a lot of things, okay? And like, these people, they're assuming that AI is static rather than rapidly evolving. They're not seeing the trends, right? They focus on what AI can't do today rather than what it will do tomorrow. They look at the glass as half empty rather than half full. So let's just address these objections directly. AI isn't capable yet. Well, this objection, it's missing the point. Of course it has limitations today, but the trajectory, it's just clear. AI capabilities are expanding exponentially. What it can't do today, it'll be able to do tomorrow. Look at how fast things are going. Go on YouTube, watch it. One company releases the new feature, they're the best. Next week, the next company, the next company, the next. How many times have you seen it like this? You know? It's like you're watching a tournament with all these athletes playing, or a golf tournament. It's like one guy's in the lead, the next guy's in the lead. That's what it's like right now. What seems impossible now will seem very obvious in a year, right? You can't trust it yet, okay? Well, trust is built through systems, not through hope. So a zero-person business isn't relying on building a blind trust in AI. That is dumb to do that, okay? It's like telling somebody, like, okay, like, welcome to work, go make me a marketing campaign. Like bro, like, yeah, I'm great at this, but like, do you have any specifications? Do you have this? Do you have that? Is there a way you want me to do it? It's like, imagine somebody says, I'm really hungry. Okay, well, I'll go buy you some food. Okay, bought you food. I can't eat that. I'm a vegetarian. Well, you didn't tell me that. Well, yeah, you should have given them structure, right? So it's like when you rely on these robust systems, though, with checks and balances, right? And these feedback loops and these verification mechanisms, well, just like in human organizations, what happens? Where you don't blindly trust these employees, you create these systems, right, to ensure you have quality and alignment. Unique human creativity. I truly believe that creativity, if we can manufacture creativity, like we can have better thinking models to spur on higher levels of creativity. That's a pattern that we can repeat in these systems, okay? So it's like people have to detach from that, right? And here's what the skeptics are missing. It's not about whether AI can't perfectly replace humans in every task right now. It's about building systems that get better over time, systems that learn, adapt, and improve themselves. And the business opportunity skeptics, well, they see is it's very short-sighted. And the business opportunity skeptics, well, what they see is very short-sighted. They're thinking about how to profit from AI now, not realizing that as AI displaces more and more workers, these traditional business models are going to start collapsing. If people don't have jobs, right, how are they going to afford products, right? The true opportunity isn't about building another business. It's in creating these systems that free us from these businesses as we know it. It's like, we got to look at it like this. Like, as time goes on, right now we're in this work world. We're going to get to a post-work world. These zero-person businesses are that transition, right? Where AI starts taking over everything. So the question is to you is like, do you want to be the one that's automated out? Or do you want to be the one that creates a system to, last these next several years before we get to that post-work world? It's up to you. So what objections right now are coming to your mind when you're thinking about this zero-person business? What aspects seem most challenging or unbelievable to you? I want you to think about it, really, because that's important to bring up that tension and that polarity. And really, where deep down inside is that coming from? Look past the surface, go deep, okay? Now, let's go deeper. Let me take you deeper into how one of these systems is actually going to work, right? The nuts and the bolts of building this zero-person business, the actual architecture that makes all of it possible. Well, at the core of any zero-person system are really different components. And for me, it's these four, right? You're going to have these domain-based agent kind of structure, okay? You're going to have these memory systems, and you're going to have these feedback loops. And also, you're going to need these awareness mechanisms, right? And that's really going to make all this stuff to come together. So let's start exploring each of these in detail. And I just wanted to let you know, before we get really into it, right, is that the beauty of a system is that self-evolves and self-improves, is that this can adapt as the system determines the way it needs to adapt, okay? So for the first, with the domain-based agent architecture and structure, well, unlike traditional AI tools that work in isolation, a zero-person business works and requires a modular, flexible approach to these AI agents. With my system, I have this universal agent interface that can be specialized for different domains and roles as needed at a moment's time. So if the system determines, oh, we don't have this yet, let's make a pipeline and configure up these domains and these agent roles and this here and make it. Boom, done, perfect. That's how you make it possible to be able to self-adapt whenever it needs to. And the beauty of that is that it's modular, right? It's rather than these rigid teams, it's deterministic stuff that we are controlling the system, right? You see this? I built a system where a universal agent can be dynamically specialized for any domain, any role. And this allows for this incredible flexibility, a system that can reconfigure itself based off the task at hand, like I'm telling you. So each agent, like I say, is specialized through this domain, right? What knowledge area it operates in. Is it content? Is it goal clarification? Is it brainstorming? Is it prompt enhancement? Okay? The role assignment. For me right now, I have a few different roles, but it's expanding for me. I have a planning agent, an execution agent, and the review agent role, okay? And then I have this component integration. What frameworks and patterns it follows, right? And these are really important, these core modules that help the system and the agents stay aligned with doing everything correctly. And then the beauty of it is I give it tool access. What actions can it take? And the beauty of tools is you can always make new tools. So you can always increase the capability of what it can do, right? Now the power comes from not having fixed, rigid structures, but allowing the system itself to determine what specializations are needed for that particular task. If the system decides it needs a new type of agent, right, or domain expertise, it can create that specialization on the fly, just like that. For example, when my system creates content, it might specialize agents for research, for writing, for editing, for optimization, all from the same universal agent template, just from these different specializations. And this is much more flexible than the hard-coded teams, okay? With these fixed members that they have. It's a true organism that evolves based on the needs of each task, just like humans. I can go from being a sprinter, right, to being a marathon runner, from being a tennis player to being a golfer, right, to going out in a very, very cold environment, and in a couple of days, I've adapted to the cold, or going out in a very hot environment and adapting to the heat, right? When you start realizing you have these patterns in humans that we can adapt over here, your mind starts to open up. So the second part I have here is memory systems. So for the zero-person business to really start functioning effectively, it's got to have memory, right? Imagine you start a new chat, it's forgot everything. It's like it never works, right? Because it can't. Because the context window is going to run out, then you got to reprompt it, and then you're in the loop. That's the problem. So you got to have these memory systems looped in. And that ability to remember what worked, what didn't work, what's been done, what's coming next is so important. And so my system actually uses several types of memory that work together. Because there's different types of memories that humans have. We have a working memory, we have a short term, we have a long term, we have different kinds of memory, right? Episodic. Working memory is like that task-specific information that's really relevant right now to the current operation. Short term is information maintained across, related tasks in a workflow. Long term is this persistent knowledge about patterns, preferences, important insights, the bigger picture stuff, right? The really important stuff. And then you've got this episodic kind of memory. These records of specific events and their outcomes for future reference, right? This is going beyond going beyond saying, oh yeah, let's have memory. Well, think about it, man. Do humans have one kind of memory? No. So let's take the pattern of what humans have and implement it to AI. Because remember, from our previous videos, we talked about how we're both just pattern recognizers, implementers, and optimizers at the core. We're the same. So these aren't theoretical constructs. They're actual entity types in my systems with clear schemas and relationships. For example, when interacting with me, right, the system builds up a long-term memory of my preferences. So it knows my communication style. It has my preferred and way of doing things. It has my past projects. It's allowing it to provide more relevant and alignment, with these outputs over time. And that's pretty amazing, right? I think it's pretty cool. And it's very simple, to kind of implement this stuff. It's pretty cool. So as long as you have the system in place to check this stuff, it just gets better and better, right? It learns from this experience. It improves over time, just like human organizations do, but faster, more consistently, and without human intervention. Now third, and this is another beautiful part, is the feedback loops, right? No system can improve without feedback, right? It's impossible. Like literally optimization is, you have this change, you do these things, right, that are benchmarked against this goal, and you evaluate. You have this feedback, you adjust. Literally that's it, right? You do something, evaluate it against the goal, adjust it. So you have to have this feedback. In a zero-person business, these feedback loops are built into every process, every interaction, every output, right? If you build the outputs in a way where feedback can be collected and like analyzing this thing, it makes it possible, right? So my system is incorporating these multiple levels of feedback. You've got, these output feedback. So what was the specific task completed successfully, right? These process feedback, like what was the workflow efficient and effective, right? Let me tell you, like that's a big one, right? Because you want to have it being effective and efficient. You don't want a system that works beautifully but takes 3 days. It's like to do a simple task, and I recently dealt with that, and now I'm optimizing that, right? The system feedback. How can the overall system improve? How can we work up the memory? Beautiful things happening down here in these small little teams, right? At this specialized role. All the way back to the top of the system and then propagating through the whole thing, right? Just like how we do with incredible human organizations. Well, these feedback loops operate through this planning, execution, review cycle that I have, right? And of course, again, it can keep adapting. That's the beauty of it. But we have these specialized agents in this review role that evaluate these outcomes. So these feedback loops, they're so important because that's how we allow for this improvement to occur, right? Because without this, it's just not possible, right? So when we provide this structured feedback, right? We have these processes in place. That is what drives this improvement. So while I am still enhancing this aspect of the system, this foundation is there. And that's the beauty of it. Because when you have the foundation, when you have everything set, that's where you got to work with, right? And then it can grow, and then it can improve. So having this structured way for the system to evaluate its own work, learn from its mistakes, and continuously improve without this human intervention, that's what you're looking for. So fourth is you have this awareness mechanisms, right? And this is where my system's like really beautiful and how it aligns with my philosophy of the understanding of something much deeper, right? And it's directly connected to my AA framework, which I've been developing over the last few months. And that comes from my pure understanding of the being of things, right? When we look deeper and we see what's driving our decisions, what's driving our action, what's driving our essence, right? Of why we do things the way we do them. And so this AA framework, which really, it stands for the Awareness Action Framework. It recognizes that true effectiveness, comes from this balance, right? Of having complete awareness, right? With focused action, right? Allowing the curiosity gate to open and close when it needs to, right? Not just one or the other, okay? And in my system, this is how it translates into the agents having this total awareness, right? Understanding the broader context, purpose, and goals. Like, imagine you went into work and it's like, yeah, like, do your job. Like I said earlier, like, just do your job. Like, okay, but like, what am I doing here? No, like, you want to get them aligned. You want to get them motivated. You want to get them like understanding the mission here. Like, what is the big picture here? Okay, I'm making a marketing campaign to grow our ice cream sales by 30% over the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to be doing this in a larger picture because we're aligned with trying to make people enjoy their night outs with their partner. Okay, let's just pretend. But now the agent's like, okay, I get it. It's not going to make random stuff anymore. Like, it's totally aligned. So it can pull that information in from the memories, and make better content or make a better app or make whatever it needs to be doing. And that's that total awareness. But that's beautiful. But the thing is, you've got to have focused execution, that ability to direct action to specific tasks. So you get it aware of everything. You get it aware, but then you want it to take that focused execution. And I really hope that YouTube did not want to like censor my thing because I made that symbol right there. So it's more nuanced than the simple saying like, self-awareness or task awareness. It's about giving the system enough context to align with the bigger picture while still being able to focus on these specific implementation details. And it's like the difference between seeing the entire forest, which is the awareness, and being able to focus on a specific tree when needed, when that's the action, right? So my system is it's really focused on maintaining this balance throughout the specialized roles and memory systems that allow it to both understand that broader context and focus on specific tasks. That's where you start seeing that memory system, right? You have that working memory, that short-term memory, that long-term memory. You have all these different forms of memory, right? And you can probably think of more kinds of memory that are important, and you can implement this. It's very powerful. So together with these four components, the domain-based agent structure, the memory systems, the feedback loops, the awareness mechanisms, right? It creates a system that can operate, improve, expand without any human implementation. Because these are the things we already do. We already do these things in human organizations. How do you think people that they go from being in the business to on the business, right? Not even sometimes being in it. They just hire someone else that takes over. It's the same kind of stuff. It's the same kind of stuff. And here's the interesting part. This isn't a static system. It's designed to self-modify and improve over time. As it's running these pipelines, it's completing more tasks, it's getting better at determining what specializations are needed, what memory patterns are valuable, and how to structure its workflows, right? And it can adapt at any time. So while some elements I've mentioned, like certain specialized review agents or advanced feedback loops and these advanced feedback mechanisms, they might be aspirational or planned for some of my future versions as I continue to improve it and allow the system to iterate on itself, right? And improve itself. The core architecture is already functioning, and I'm continuously improving it, adding more capabilities and refinements as I learn what works best, and as the system learns what works best, right? Because it can identify patterns, like I said, better than me, which is beautiful. That's a beautiful thing about AI too, right? Is that it has this ability to identify patterns, just like we can, but it can do it by looking at a lot of data too, and it takes us a long time to do that, but the AI can do it, bam, like that. So now, think about your businesses, or think about your projects, right? Which of these components are you missing right now? And what could you start implementing today, even if you didn't implement these systems with AI, but just in general? So how do we actually go about building this zero-person business? Well, first, we gotta recognize what business you're really in. Not the surface level answer, but the deeper purpose. Like what naturally is drawing your attention? What feels effortless to think about? This isn't about some market research or finding a profitable niche. Those things are great. But the thing is, are you actually gonna be wanting to do these things in 3 months when the going gets going, when it gets tough, right? Do you actually care about this, okay? Do you really want to talk? Are you going to go on a walk and talk about this or not? Because if you aren't, then the AI system's not going to work on that, right? It's first we got to understand what we're aligned with. What are we really naturally curious about? And what could you explore for hours and hours and hours without getting tired? When it honestly energizes you to keep exploring. What topics or activities energize you rather than are draining you? For me, it was just starting with learning patterns. I was getting obsessed, right, with how I can help humans become their best, right? Because I was doing all this tennis stuff, and that's what the answers, the trail was leading me, right? And then I realized this big problem is we have these plateaus, right, when we're trying to reach these goals. And so I became obsessed with how we break through them and learn more effectively and more fast, right? And then I became obsessed with this idea of how do we create knowledge, right? And this led me to exploring these AI systems that could enhance learning, right? How can we do these things? And eventually it led me to this concept of a zero-person business. So it's not like I planned this journey. I just followed what naturally interested me, what naturally drew my curiosity. So when you build a business around your natural curiosity, you create something that aligns with your vision, even when you're not directly involved in the implementation, right? The system naturally reflects your interests because that's what it was designed to do, to explore and develop. So second, starting with building an AI system that handles the implementation, right? That's the second thing. We got to start small, maybe just 1 or 2 specialized agents or pipelines, right? With a specific thing. Get used to it, right? Implement through it. Tinker with it. Get it working. Then we can expand, right? And then we design it with that expansion in mind. We design it to be abstracted, right? And we design it to be the ability to grow. So for me, I just started with one simple agent, just one flow, not even multi-agents, not even any of that, just one with a memory system, right? And I was like, bro, even this works amazingly. It's incredible. I just press continue. It's awesome. But then I expanded it, and it's like, now we got something magical here. Yeah, it's like taking a little bit of time, and as I optimize, it gets better. But I just started with one thing, and then I built it with the idea of I know I'm going to expand it, make it better, and that's what I did. And now it's really cool, right? You don't got to start with building everything at once. You just start with that single process, a single workflow, single task. For example, like I said, I started with the one task, then for a pipeline, I went with content creation. For you, it could be customer support or data analysis, whatever it may be. Just choose something specific that can be clearly defined and systematized, okay? That gets you adjusted and getting used to it. So the key, it's not just to create these individual agents, right? Eventually, you want the system of agents with this built-in feedback loop, right? These agents that implement, these agents that review, these agents that improve the system itself, okay? So keep this in mind as you're implementing this in the beginning. Because in my own system, I discovered something very fascinating. Every execution agent needs this review agent as a partner, right? Because right now I was like, man, I'm reviewing this guy's stuff. I can't be doing that. How can whatever I do, okay, I recognize that. How can I replace that? And the review stuff was one I recognized. You got to remove it, right? And every time an AI creates something, well, another one should be reviewing the work of that. It's like, just like in a human organization, these checks and balance systems are really important for creating better outcomes, because you can iterate, just like humans do. We have a conversation. I initially say something, it sounds stupid. You say something back. 2 hours later, we've gone through it multiple times, and now it's actually kind of becoming less foggy, more clear, right? So these AIs, they're better at it, especially when you have a system in place. It's like you don't even have to go through that many rounds. It's pretty cool. But you still have it there. And then you take that review, you take that feedback, and you put it in the memory systems. You work it up. You let those changes propagate through the system. It's genius, right? So it isn't complicated to implement. It's just like you can just start with two simple prompts. Create X based on Y, and review X based on Z criteria. Create X based on Y, the goals, right? Review X based on Z criteria. So you're probably going to look at the goals and see how it aligns, have a review system, say, you're missing this, and let the system watch how it evolves, okay? Just watch it iterate it. Ask AI, hey, how can I make this better? Hey, what are best practices for this? Hey, make it better, best practices, and watch the system work. And then you implement it, and then bam, it starts to actually work. You say, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, I think this could be better, this is annoying. And you just iterate through it. When you get that first iteration going, now it starts working. That part can pretty much be done. It's systematized, beautiful, right? And then you kind of expand that, like we said, eventually, right, as you get used to it. So even this very basic structure I'm talking about, create X based on Y, review X based on Z criteria, even this basic structure is going to produce better results than a single agent just working alone, okay? So third, you've got to design your awareness mechanisms. How's your system going to start seeing what's happening in your business, right? How is it going to recognize patterns? How will it know what's working and what isn't working, right? You know, we have systems like that in our own self, right? So when I remember something good, I implement it again. I save it. I'm like, this is good stuff. Do that. When it's bad stuff, don't do that. Very important, okay? Getting the big picture, very important. How can we help the AI system develop this bigger picture and implement that, okay? How can we help it implement the small picture, the focus picture, right? The dedicated task list, okay? So this is where a lot of people start getting stuck. They try to program every possible scenario. No, that's still implementation thinking. But instead, you've got to start thinking to how you can design systems that can see clearly, that can recognize patterns on their own, and that can evolve naturally in response to being what's seen. So when I first built my system, I made a crucial mistake. I was trying to create these detailed workflows for every scenario, right? But that approach can't handle the unexpected. But now my system has these awareness levels and this modularity around it that allows it to extend itself whenever it needs to, right? And it can recognize these patterns and adapt to these new situations without my intervention. And that modularity was so key, right? So an example is instead of defining exactly how content should be created, I define the principles of good content and the metrics for success, right? The system figures out the specific approach based on these principles and metrics and adapts as it's learning what works best. Go look up on YouTube. It's really fun, really fascinating. There's like reinforcement. There's a guy who has like this one, I think, I forget his name, but it's this orange little cube. And it learns to like walk, and then it learns to run, and it learns to go up and down the stairs. And it goes and does these thousands of reps. But it takes the video is like 15 minutes, and it feels like it's a lot. But like in terms of this must have taken months, but it's like only a set amount of hours. Now, I'm not saying you got to do this. You can start with a great system in place. And that's great too, right? I mean, look at fire, right? I could just say go in the woods, say, okay, make fire. Or I could say, hey, look, here are these tools to make a fire. Use them if you want to. You can figure out if you want to make your own fire, do that. But you have these tools available, right? So it's very helpful sometimes. We have these things that we can give the AI in the beginning, to be able to start on a good foot. But hey, you can learn and adapt and do what you want on your own too if you want, okay? Now, fourth, is we gotta connect it all with our memory systems, right? Your AI agents need to remember what worked, what didn't, what patterns they've seen, how the business is evolving. These memory systems, it's what transforms your isolated tasks into this cohesive system, right? Because without memory, you just got tools. Without memory, you just have a business, right? You don't have any ability to let this forever run on its own. So in my system, my AI agents are maintaining this working memory, these task lists, these handoff files. They document their processes and they share their insights with other agents. They have this collective intelligence that gets smarter over time. You don't even need complex software to make this possible. You can do it in literal text files, right? Just have your prompt, your system done so it checks all the files in the right place, literally. And the simplest way to implement this is through these structured documents that these agents can read and update, with these working memories that capture current tasks and progress, these episodic memories that record completed tasks and outcomes, and these procedural memories that document workflows and processes. And these documents, they become this institutional knowledge of your zero-person business, right? And you got to think of people have these knowledge bases, right? And this documentation of their whole business, That's very important to have. Now start thinking about that with memory as well. And they start seeing this really incredible thing start to shape up. So last thing you got to do is you just got to get out the way, man. Get out the way. Let the system start running itself. Just trust it, and see where the flaws start to appear, okay? See what might need to be improved, what might need to be tinkered with. And then, as this happens, you keep leaning into all the things we've talked about. So that way you can let it evolve, okay? You can let it try to improve itself, okay? And this, literally, just let it surprise you, okay? That little orange block that learned to walk, that learned to run, that learned to go up and down the stairs that I just told you about. Bro, it's hilarious. The first step it takes is it falls over for the first 6 hours. And then eventually it can stand up and fall forward. And then 10 hours in or 12 hours in or 13 hours in, it can actually start walking. But if you only paid attention to the very first minute, even the first few hours, it's literally just falling over, So you gotta trust it, bro. You gotta trust it. If you got mad at a baby for crawling, right? Because it can't run yet or walk yet. Bro, give it some time. Let it evolve. Let it surprise you. And that's the hardest part for most people. They imagine, we're so conditioned to be in control of this thing that letting go just feels wrong. And once you've built once you've built this robust system with this proper feedback loops and awareness mechanisms, you start getting out of the way. That's really the best thing you can do. It's imagine when the baby's a baby, yeah, you parent it. When it's 8-year-old, you parent it. 15, okay, you start backing off a little. 19, 20, okay, maybe he's an idiot sometimes. But you You got to trust it. 23, 25, 30. Bro, like if you're still parenting your kid when the kid's 45, either the kid's broken, you gave it a horrible system, or there's some trust issues you have, okay? Like you got to be able to let go and let the thing do its thing, all right? You're not abandoning the business. You're not abdicating this responsibility. You're elevating yourself from this implementer to this visionary, right? You're focusing on what matters most. Direction, purpose, meaning, being a human. Being a human. And let the system just handle itself, bro. Let it handle itself. Now, what's one small task or process in your current work that you could start systemizing right now, today? Where could you begin building your zero-person business? Simply just one thing. Now, let me be completely honest with you. My system isn't perfect yet, and I'll admit that. That's totally fine. Like I said, it's a baby learning to crawl, learning to walk, learning to run. I'm still working out the kinks. And just yesterday, I was spending 12 hours with my AI pipeline. It's beautiful, right? But it's just slowly churning out a simple YouTube script that wasn't up to my standards. So the reality is, that's where we stand. That's where we are right now. But this isn't instantaneous. It's not magical. It's a process. It's a journey. It's a transition, right? It's evolving. It's improving. But that's part of the process. No one, like I said, no one's going to be able to walk before they can run, right? Or they can't run before they can walk, right? You gotta trust the transitional phase, and that's where building that system's gonna eventually, that's where the process that happens. But eventually, it's gonna run without me. Okay. The important thing is that the system isn't perfect now, but the important thing is that its trajectory, it's the progress, the vision here, right? The direction. And even with these imperfections, I'm already seeing like incredible results. Like I said, I've gone from having to keep going and go back and forth and type a lot to just pressing continue still, right? It's just a little bit slow, and that's fine. I put way too many agents in the pipeline. I could have streamlined stuff, right? But I've gone from micromanaging every decision to just providing occasional feedback when direction was needed. So for example, last week I was needing, one time I was needing to like update the app user interface, but before this would ever have like evolved, like it would have just taken like days of designing, coding, testing, refining. But instead, when you outline the general vision, right, and you have this system that handles everything, well, it's not perfect immediately, right? But we went through a few rounds of refinement, yeah. But the final result was better than what I would have had created myself. And it required maybe 5% of effort compared to before. But the thing is, I don't just like go back and forth with one agent trying to do all the work. I have a system that I run through, and that's the important part, right? So, the thing is like the snowball isn't being rolled up the hill anymore. Now it's starting to roll down by itself. And as it gathers that momentum, I just gotta push less and less. Now, building a zero-person business is like building a spacecraft for orbit. It's the initial launch, requires this enormous energy, right? You have to overcome some gravity, right? And atmospheric resistance, all the forces that are pulling you back. But once you reach orbit, man, you can just coast, right? The hard work is all front-loaded. So I'm still in that launch phase myself, and I'm still putting in that work to build those systems that won't need me. But I can already see the trajectory, right? And I know where this is heading. So this is a critical point to really understand, because the zero-person business doesn't happen overnight, right? It's not about flipping a switch. It's about building systems that gradually reduce your implementation role until it just disappears entirely. And that distinction completely dissipates, right? The illusion is gone. It's about creating processes that get better over time, that learn from experience, that improve with each iteration. It's about designing these feedback loops, right? And awareness mechanisms that enable the continuous evolution without your direct involvement. And yes, that takes work up front, okay? It takes work. And it takes investment. It takes patience. It takes persistence. But that payoff is beyond anything traditional business models can offer to you, right? So it's like planting a garden. Initially you have to prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water regularly, but eventually, if you've designed it right, the garden becomes very self-sustaining. Plants reseed themselves. Natural predators handle the pests. Rain provides the water. Your role shifts from the gardener to the admirer. When are you, So the question is, where are you in the process? Are you still manually doing everything? Have you started building systems yet? Or are you on the path to zero implementation? right? So this is the true liberation of this. The one-person business frees you from employment. The zero-person business frees you from implementation itself. And that's what we're really going for here, the true freedom, not this falsified, illusionary prison that we built ourselves, right? It's not just a slight improvement. It's not just an incremental step forward. This is a fundamental transformation in the relationship with work, with creation, with life itself. What remains is not emptiness or boredom. It's that pure creative expression, that pure vision, that pure curiosity, that pure being. When you're no longer trapped in the doing, something profound begins to happen. That natural curiosity begins to emerge out of you. It flows from you. It connects, right? That natural connection forms. Think about when you were a child. You didn't need to be told to be curious. You didn't need to be motivated to explore. You didn't need external rewards to create. These were natural expressions of your humanity, of your being. But somewhere along the way, implementation took over. Doing replaced being. Work replaced curiosity. Production replaced exploration. Doing for doing's sake was replaced by doing because of that reason. But the zero-person business reverses all of this. It strips away these artificial layers of implementation and returns you to your natural state of that curiosity, creative, and connective human essence of you. You don't have to force yourself to work or to be productive. You just simply be. You just simply follow that natural draw of your attention, right? What generally interests you. And your business, your zero-person business, it just continues to operate, to grow, to evolve in perfect alignment with your vision. So I've experienced these moments of this liberation, where the time just like when my systems were working so well that I could just step back and I just observe. I'm like, man, this is amazing, right? It's in these moments that I felt like a kind of freedom I never really known before. I'm like, when I automated stuff before, like this is even cooler, right? Because it's doing complex stuff that I couldn't even plan out. It's not that freedom from responsibility. It's like the freedom from doing things, that I don't really care about doing. It's that now I have that freedom to explore, create, and connect. Like last month I spent 3 days deep diving into a topic that fascinated me. Not because it was profitable or strategic, but just because it generally interested me. My business just the things just continue to go without me, right? They just happen. The systems continue to function, they improve, they generate results, and I returned, I brought back new insights, new perspectives, new ideas, they enhance the overall vision. And that's not the future of work, right? This is the future of being, this is the future of everything, this is how it will be, right? It's not about working less, it's not about working remotely, it's not even working for yourself, that's not it, right? It's transcending work entirely. It's creating a bridge between pure awareness and practical results without getting trapped in this implementation. It's that the zero-person business, it isn't just a business model, right? It's a new way of being in the world. It's a new way that honors both our creative potential and our desire for freedom that you're trying to get out of these other business models. It's that natural state as a curious, creative, connective person, right? It's that liberation from these artificial constructs, right? These false prisons that we're putting ourselves in, these constructs of implementation, production, of work for the work's sake. You get back to just doing for the doing's sake. It's beautiful. And what would you do with this freedom, right? If implementation disappeared from your life right now, what would naturally emerge for you? What would you explore? What would you create? What would you connect with if there were no constraints on your time or your attention or doing things because you got to do that thing because of that reason? And here's where most people miss it. This isn't optional. It's not optional. It's inevitable. In 5 to 10 years, AI is going to automate all implementation anyway. Maybe it happened in 2 years, maybe 20, but we're headed there regardless of whether you embrace it or resist it. I'm sorry. It's not speculation, it's not fantasy, it's that clear trajectory of technological development. Just as machines automated physical labor, AI will automate cognitive labor. And you might think that AI hasn't fully automated physical labor. Well, go look up for the humanoid robots on YouTube because it's going to totally change your perspective on that. Just as factories replace craftsmen, AI systems are going to replace knowledge workers. It's just a given fact. So you can either be automated out of your job, like I said earlier, or you can be building systems that automate implementation while keeping you at the center of the vision and direction, and you can be in charge of what you want to be curious of. So, I see these things like most people, like these polls, these beliefs that people have, like that their jobs can't be automated, but like that's I'm sure that's exactly what blacksmiths were probably thinking before the Industrial Revolution. That's what people in farms were thinking before the tractor, before these amazing innovations occurred, right? I'm sure they were all thinking that. And the human capacity for denial is absolutely remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. But we think we're special until we're not. So anyway, back to my point. The choice is available to everyone, right? To have this beautiful 0% business or to not. And, not everyone's going to take it. Many are going to resist this. Many will cling on to having to do the work. Many will resist that their work can't be automated, that their role can't be replaced, that they are irreplaceable, right? That their implementation is essential. And those people are going to be left behind. They're going to be the ones that are fired. They don't have anything to do. They're the ones that are going to be lost, right? CEOs understand this. They understand this principle for decades, for centuries, right? They delegate everything, creating systems where they don't have to personally implement everything. All they have to do is provide vision and direction, right? And you wonder why they get paid the big bucks, because that is actually what matters here. So the difference now is that the AI makes it possible for everyone, right? Not just those with the resources to hire the teams of humans. Think about it like this way, right? Like the CEO doesn't write the code. They don't design the product. They don't create the marketing, handle customer support, or manage finances. They create the system. They create the vision, the team, the processes, the structures. They outline all of the system to do its thing, right? And it handles all of it for them. That's it. Their role is vision, direction, strategy, not implementation. Not implementation. Now AI makes the CEO level delegation possible for anyone, for you, for your little 3-year-old, right? For your brother, your sister, for a grandma. You don't need millions of funding or hundreds of employees. You need the right systems and the right architecture, the right approach. The same patterns that work for human-based automation work for AI-based automation. You're not inventing something new. You're just applying these proven principles with new tools. It's amazing. Right? And so I'm constantly frustrated by how the business world is talking about AI, because is it a magical savior or is it an existential threat? But the very little practical understanding of how to actually use it to transform their work. You see these articles, 10 ways to put AI into your business. They're missing the entire point. The paradigm shift that we're experiencing here, it's not about AI as a tool. It's about designing systems where the AI is the executor and you're the visionary, right? That's it. And these tools are becoming more powerful every day, more capable every day, more accessible every day. And what seems cutting edge today, right? What's going to seem very basic tomorrow, what seems impossible now will seem obvious in a few years. And guess what? All of it's possible today. The only question is, are you going to be ahead of this curve or behind it? Will you be the one designing the 0% business of tomorrow? Or are you going to be looking for work in a world where implementation jobs have entirely disappeared and you won't have a place in that future? Do you want to be in this transitory phase as we go into a post-work world totally afraid? Or do you want to be feeling like you are in control of your destiny and having that beautiful system? So the thing is, what steps are you going to take today to prepare for this inevitable future? Because it's happening. How are you positioning yourself in a world where implementation is fully automated? Look, this is just the beginning. In my next video, I'm going to break down exactly how to start your building of your own 0% business with today's AI tools. And I'll show you the specific systems I've built, the patterns that work, and how to transition from implementation to orchestration. And it's not about AI tools either, right? It's the wrong choice of words. It's about the systems thinking that you need to have, the way that you need to develop the fundamentals, the first principles, the irreducible truths. Because when you have those, you can apply that not just to this, but to everything in your life. When you understand the core essence of everything, it all becomes so much more clear, and you can use it. You can use it to build from the foundation the true way things need to be done, right? In much more powerful ways. So I'm going to cover all this stuff. I'm going to give you the exact things you got to do, the way you've got to develop, the detailed architecture you're going to do, the way that I've at least done it, right? And I'm going to show you how to start small and scale gradually, kind of like how I did a little bit today. I'm going to share the mistakes that I've been making and how you can use those mistakes to avoid them, right? Because here's the thing. You can start building that zero-person business today like I've talked about. You don't need to wait for future technology. You don't need to be an AI expert. You just need the right approach. You just need the right mindset. You just need the right understanding of how these systems work, okay? And that's what I'm offering to you, a practical path to implementation freedom, a practical path to true freedom of what you're actually looking for and what you want to be, and so you can connect back to your true essence of what life is actually about. And it's a step-by-step approach to be building these systems that operate without you. So a concrete way to turn this philosophical vision that I'm setting out here and turning it into your practical reality. But until then, just ask yourself this. What would be possible? What would be possible if you didn't have to implement anything? What would you create if implementation wasn't a constraint? What naturally draws your curiosity? When all the shoulds and all the musts, they just fall away. And I want you to just think about that deeply, okay? What would happen? Not just a passing thought, but take it as a serious exploration. Because what I'm asking you is something very deep, right? What would your life look like if implementation, if work itself disappeared? What would emerge naturally from your curiosity? What would you explore? What would you create? What would you connect with if there were no constraints? If there were no box? If there were no illusions, right? If there were no because ofs? If there were only the doing for the doing's sake? Take that moment right now and just imagine that reality. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear that reality in the comments. What aspect, tell me, what aspect of the zero-person business resonates deeply with you? What challenges you? What do you see in this that might be challenging to implement? And what questions do you have about it for making it work for you? Because look, remember, the goal is not to make implementation easier. The goal is to make implementation unnecessary. That's the zero-person business.